Mr. Rizzoletti, you're up there. Thank you. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:03. Kat, could you take the roll call, please?
Brian Boyle.
Here.
Kim Farah.
Here.
Amy Finnegan. Amy
Absent.
Amy Gentile.
Yes.
Barbara Kishka.
Present.
Katie Knudsen.
Present.
Sheila Lowe's.
Absent.
Sean O'Neill.
Here.
Christine Savage.
Okay, if you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Before I start, I'd like to recognize Katie Newsom as our new board member from Plastow, replacing Kelly Bowes. Welcome. Moving on to the approval of the minutes on 9/2. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Barbara makes the motion. Brian seconds. Discussion? All in favor? Let's see, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed? Abstaining? 1. 601. Moving on to delegates and individuals, I would like to remind people that delegates and individuals is limited to 3 minutes. We do have quite a few people that want to speak today, so I will hold to that. There are 2 mics, so I'll do what I've done in the past and have one person come up here, and I'll call the next person up for the next mic. Kristen, do you want to time this for me?
Sure.
So at this mic, we have Mr. Jack Sapio from Atkinson, and then at that mic, if Jacqueline Widola from Atkinson could come up. Whoever gets there first gets to go first. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead. I'm just joking. Go ahead, Jack.
Come on, Jack.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Jack Sapia from Atkinson. I'm here tonight to request your consideration for use of a baseball field. Earlier this week, I received a call from my son's collegiate baseball coach. He runs baseball tournaments during the summer, including collegiate showcases and youth programs. He's a coach that exemplifies all that coaching sports should be. Because of a last-minute scheduling conflict at a regional college, he is now short a field for this Sunday. He reached out to me, not being from the area, and asked if I could find him a field. I reached out to Carlisle Facilities expert to see if we could get a field ready in time before I ran this one up the flagpole. We had a great conversation, and I was impressed with his perspective and willingness to help. I then reached out to Angelo and requested for a field, and I had Mr. Cook fill out a form and submit it to Angelo. Angelo then informed us that the district is not approving any outside groups for using outside fields at this time. I am asking the board at this time to reconsider for the following reasons. The request is on a Sunday, with practically no one on campus. It's on the JV baseball field, fenced off, in the middle of a 60-acre lot, and probably, in all likelihood, won't be used again until next spring. He's willing to pay up to $500 for use of the field, which is standard around the region. They do not need or will they use any facilities other than the field itself. I personally have never differentiated kids by towns. In my book, they're all the same. We have vendors, other teams, parents, and other sports groups within the district, etc., on campus all the time. From a logical standpoint, there's really no difference as far as the exposure to any group or child. These children will not be coming to our school on Monday. If I was asking for the pack or asking for use of the bathrooms, I would understand the reluctancy under our current state of circumstances. But this is clearly not the case. People use these fields all the time without asking permission. They're basically open fields. You see people out using them all the time. So I'm disheartened by the decision, and quite frankly, I'm getting pretty tired, as I think we all are. I'm hoping some common sense can prevail here tonight. Not for me. This isn't my request. I'm here hoping that the young athletes can get on the field. we're all here for the kids, and giving them every opportunity to run and breathe fresh air is what we should do. That should be our goal. That should be our mission. I understand that these are difficult times, and this is something that we can do for a group of young athletes. Thank you very much. If I could have, if it's the will of the board, the motion, and just, I mean, Sunday's not too far away. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacqueline Wydola?
Idola.
In the back.
Yes, I'm in the back. I'm in the segregated unmasked section. I just wanted to come tonight because I said I would continue to come to these meetings even though my daughter is no longer in the district because of your policy to mask our healthy children. She's doing great there. She loves it. She comes home from school in a great mood. And she gets to see the classmates, so that's really great. As far as I know, we don't have any issues in our school without masks optional, so that is anecdotal but relevant. I like to share something that was not found in my history book in Sanborn, but perhaps it's in the Timberlane School District. That when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that we should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So, my reasons for separating from this form of government was that you're usurping my parental ability and forcing a medical or an alleged medical device on my child every day. The reason I continue to come to these meetings is that there are children who are still in your school district that are being denied these accommodations here that we are allowed to have, and they're not allowed to. I know several moms that are coming here and are not here tonight to advocate for their children. I know some are scared to, some really just are gonna sit quietly and suffer quietly while they continue to be oppressed on this. To continue in the Declaration of Independence says that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation in these principles. That is what we're attempting to do with the petition that we have going. We are exercising and promoting a practice that you guys have kind of taken over and reserved for yourself. You've taken that on for yourself, and in every stage of this debate of the COVID and how it's going to be handled, you have continued to oppress those who disagree with you. We have petitioned at these meetings, we are now petitioning for special meetings, we are constantly reaching out and showing up, and every time our petitions are met with only more repeated injury from you guys. I think that a couple of them that I've acknowledged is refusing to hold up the ADA last year. Now you have some accommodations, but they are inconsistent and leaving something to be desired. You've dissolved in-person meetings, from what I can tell, to fatigue us and just make us give up and wear us down. And you refuse to acknowledge these violations of people's rights, people that actually have disabilities.
Thank you. David Kiley.
Good afternoon, good evening, all of it. Dave Kiley Atkinson. Respecting civility, I completely understand how policies are necessary to operations. When they're followed well, they make everyone's life easier. However, if a policy is offensive to the New Hampshire and United States Constitution, I'd argue that it is our duty not to follow such a policy. Article 32, New Hampshire, Constitution, rights of assembly, instruction, and petition. People have the right in an orderly and peaceful manner to assemble and consult upon the common good, to give instruction to their representatives, and to request the legislative body by way of petition of remonstrance, redress of wrongs done to them and the grievances they suffer. Dr. Cochran how does using a policy to intimidate two parents on Tuesday night with 3 cops in an attempt to restrict this right, how does that not violate the Constitution? Article 2B, right to privacy, an individual's right to live free from governmental intrusion in private and personal information is a natural and essential right. Kim Farrow, how does asking the people on September 2nd whether they're disabled in a public setting, how does that not infringe upon such right? Article 8, accountability of magistrates and officers and the public's right to know. Okay? This article ends with, the public has a right to access governmental proceedings and records, and they shall not be unreasonably restricted. Telling me I need to wear a mask over my face and over my mouth is a pretty unreasonable restriction. I don't need to be disabled. I'm not disabled. And I will come in here because the Constitution protects me from you. Accommodations are on the agenda tonight. How is this right not infringed? Accommodating only disabled members of the public? How was this right not infringed on May 20th? September 3rd? How will Article 8 not be violated as you discuss this topic tonight? Did any of you read Article 8 before you showed up at this meeting? It's on the agenda. If I had more time, I'd get into the complete and utter failure for any of you to request or provide any reasonable data that shows that children are at an impending risk, or that the types of masks that you and mostly everyone here tonight are wearing are effective at reducing it. The ones you're wearing right now. While I and several others have provided plenty of evidence and data on this. Even the CDC has admitted masking provides no statistically significant difference in schools. And I'm talking about the kinds of masks that most everyone's wearing tonight. Okay? These aren't respirators. Oath violations, I've mentioned, and the intimidating posture towards your constituents and their children. Why would you expect peaceful responses to your rules when you completely are repugnant to the Constitution that protects us? Thank you.
Thank you. Calvin Bales?
All right, let's get this off right. I'm not a speaker, nor do I claim to be a professional speaker. I'm not here to impress anybody about my words, okay? I'm here to make you guys look at your selves, okay? Look at you. You're all wearing a mask.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to make sure that you are using language that is conducive. Sir, I'm going to ask you to please control yourself if you would like to continue speaking.
Quit pointing your finger out the door, all right? Look at you, with a mask on. You look like a buffoon. You're like a sheep. Yeah, well listen, you're not appropriate. Okay? That's why
Sir,
I can say what I
I'm
want.
going to ask you to sit down
No, I'm not
and...
sitting down. I got my 3 minutes.
Officers-
You don't like what I have to say? Too bad.
Sir, I'm going to warn you again to please control yourself and remove yourself from the microphone. As I have said before, obscene language is not allowed. This is a public meeting. There are children in this area. Officers, I'm going to ask you to approach the gentleman who refuses to yield the microphone. Sir, please move away from the microphone. Please move away from the microphone, sir. Hold on. Go ahead. You're... Go ahead, let him go for another minute. Michael Boucher? Sir, please yield the floor. This is delegates and individual session. Respect other people's right to speak. Sir, I'm going to warn you one more time to please be quiet, or you will be removed from this auditorium. Go ahead, Mr. Boucher. Again,
Thank you. Within the past 2 weeks, New Hampshire school systems took 2 distinct actions: experiment with their students and make masks optional, or play it safe and make mask mandates like our district did. The data is overwhelmingly clear that the school systems with optional mask usage had a larger increase in the number of positive cases compared to districts like ours, which had a lower number of cases. With that said, I fully expect our district to continue masking so that we may reach a point in which we no longer need masks. What is really concerning to me and to many other parents are that special interest groups are entering our district in order to tell our communities how to run our schools. The petition they have going around has less to do with masks and more to do with the grand objective to cripple public education. Any parent should be disturbed that individuals who do not have students in our schools are approaching voters, generally who do not have children in our schools, to dictate how our schools should operate. We may hear, or rather, we have already heard from one of those individuals tonight, and he will protest against our safety of our children to promote that choice. That choice is not to protect children nor to improve our schools. These groups intend to destroy public education. I would hope that the board and the administration would seek legal counsel before legitimizing the efforts of these outside interests in their petition. Whether or not you agree with me, you really should ask yourself why an outside group would want to push forward a warrant article that would take months of deliberation, thousands of tax dollars, and ultimately may not pass. Even if it were to pass, as it is currently presented to voters, does it really make sense to force the district to allow parents to do nothing with your child? Let's say that the warrant article passes and you have your child in class without a mask. I know some of you believe that children would be fine or may have minor symptoms compared to adults. What about the teachers, supporting staff, and the administrators? Our district is already short-staffed, and some people do not want to challenge that fragile situation. We learned something at the last meeting that there really isn't a concrete plan for remote learning. What do we have to look forward to when the schools close because there aren't enough teachers? Does the administration have an answer for this? Many parents are still confused about what should happen if their child is exposed to the virus. Does their child need to quarantine? Is testing required? How long should that child be out? And will there be any makeup work? One more thing. Parents need to stop submitting fraudulent medical exemptions and preventing the...
thank you. Jeanette Walling, Plastow.
Hello, yes, I am Jeanette Walling from Plastow, and I'd like to share my experience with COVID that I had. In January this year, myself and both my daughters had COVID. Our symptoms were very mild, lasted for about a week, and only one of us lost taste and smell, and my husband was somehow spared. The following few months, I began to experience post-COVID symptoms. Brain fog, shortness of breath from any activity, hair loss, body pain, inflammation, fatigue, and panic attack-like symptoms. I was fully vaccinated by May. My symptoms started to subside by the end of June, and possibly from the help of the vaccine, who knows? As COVID numbers improved over the summer, I was finally feeling myself after many months of COVID-related issues. The first week of August, COVID hit me again. After 2 negative home tests, on the 4th day, my urgent care results were finally positive. This time, I had severe muscle aches, joint pain, nerve pain. I had fever for over a week. It was not a good situation. My family was spared. We quarantined immediately in abundance of caution. And my personal opinion is that because of the vaccine, I had no respiratory complications or post-COVID this time. The vaccine, I believe, did its job. It did subside some of the symptoms. I'd like the board to consider the following. The first thing is, I'm vaccinated, and I still got sick a second time. Mask can help prevent breakthrough cases.
Excuse me, sir. This woman has the microphone. If you make another comment that disrupts this woman's time, we'll ask to have you removed. Go ahead, ma'am.
Sure. The second thing is, I missed over a week of work. Most employers are already short-staffed, not to mention the loss of wages. Masks can help people keep working and keep people paid. The third thing is, this happened over the summer. My children would have missed over a week of school just from being quarantined. Masks in my own home help prevent my family from getting sick. And because of my experience, I will fully support wearing a mask indoors and vaccinations when possible. My hope is that the school board will continue the mask mandate as needed, but I'd also like to know if there will be a plan for students needing to quarantine and not miss out on school. Right now, I got a phone call today saying that my daughter was exposed on Monday, and we could test if we wanted to. We didn't have to. So we have opted to do the same thing, the safe thing. It's day 4 now, and we're getting her tested tonight. We're pulling her out of school for Friday and Monday to keep others safe. There's no option right now for her to make up those days. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sebastian Kennard.
Hello
Sir,
there.
I'm going to ask you again for the third time to please refrain from comments. Officers, could you please remove him? Go ahead, Mr. Kennard.
Hello, my name is Sebastian. I'm a graduate of Timberlane Regional High School, and I have a sibling currently still in the school system. Love you. I love you too. I am here to talk about the mask mandate within the school. On September 7th, 2021, a 4-year-old named Callie Cook died of COVID-19, which she likely contracted from her mother, a strict anti-vaxxer and anti-mask. Little Callie died in her sleep at her home in Bay Cliff, Texas, just 5 hours after she woke in the early hours with just a fever. There were no underlying conditions, nothing stated within the report that she had any underlying conditions for her health. A show of hands, how many people have children under the age of 18 here? All right, now I don't because I am. Dumbass. All right, so,
Excuse me, could we please stop?
I'm just going to sit here. Is time still going?
I'm going to ask you again to please refrain from comments when others are speaking.
All right, so how many parents here could actually imagine their life without their child? How many brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, friends, family do we have to lose in order to actually get it through? That it's not just some conspiracy. There are people dying every single day because of this. It's not just something that's like, oh, you hear it on the news means it's fake. Imagine that you go to the hospital and you're having chest pains. They say they're going to run an EKG on you and do blood work that could possibly identify a potential heart attack. It's going to save your life. Then your mother steps in and says, oh no, it's just chest pain, you'll be fine. That is what we're doing. There's a literal pandemic going on and we're acting as though we should just do nothing about it. Act as though it's just not there and then it won't bother you. Open your eyes for 5 seconds and realize that your political party, your race, creed, color, sexuality, whatever it is, doesn't determine how you have to think. Listen to the facts from the CDC, the people who literally have doctorates in their fields and not from the anti-vax, anti-mask Facebook group that you attend. You wouldn't take the handlebars off your 4-year-old kid's bike and then have them ride downhill all because your 16-year-old brother can. So all because your 16-year-old brother can survive COVID doesn't mean my little sister can. Don't make your kid a statistic. That's all.
Thank you. Melissa Ma.
Hi. I didn't plan to speak tonight, and I'm already getting emotional, and I don't know why. I'm so sorry. I decided to bring him just so that you could all see who I've been standing here fighting for all these months. It didn't go the way we had hoped, and without going into much detail, the way his day would look in school was not worth sending him. And so we withdrew. And it was, he's 3.5, and that's his vocabulary, just so you know. And so we'll pay more out of our own pocket to get him extra help. We already do. He already has speech and OT. Anybody might have seen him up there smack that nice lady in the face out of nowhere. You don't ever see it coming. He hits people and he pinches people, and he's very happy when he's doing it. You don't see it coming, and I just need more help. I need more help to be able to be in the public with him. He's very smart, and he's very funny, and he's very sweet. And it's been 18 months. It's been 18 months since he's gotten any state, any help. So I just want you to realize that when you're making these mask mandates without any wiggle room, these are the kids you're affecting. This little boy who's 3 isn't able to get the education and the interventions that he needs. And my older 2 do also go to school. They were that 3.5 years old. That's how he talks. He needs more. And he's not going to get it from Timberlane. And the experience that we went through, we're probably not sure that we want to send him back. What opened my eyes was how bad the special education department needs more help. There isn't enough. And I beg you that even with COVID, spend some more time looking at the special education department. Open your eyes to see that the reputation that it has is not good. That people said, put him in the Haverhill school. His dad's a Haverhill public school teacher, but unfortunately for us, it's transportation because we both work. You want to say goodbye? Say hi. Hi. So he's who I fought for. This is my heart and my soul, and this is why I stood up every week. And for those of you who are angry at me or don't like me because of that, I will always continue to advocate for my children. I won't ever stop.
Thank you. Moving on to the student representative. Go ahead, Kaylee.
Girls on the Run has started its fall season at Atkinson Academy this week. This program was made available to girls in grades 3 to 5. They meet with volunteer coaches after school to help inspire and build confidence and other important skills through interactive lessons and physical activity. Staff and administration are very happy to offer this great experience at the Academy. At Sandown North on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, several classes took time to talk about heroes and kindness. Mrs. Castano's 4th grade class learned about a small town in Newfoundland where on September 11th, 38 planes carrying 7,000 passengers had to unexpectedly land. The story focuses on how the townspeople came together to welcome and house these visitors. It is a beautiful story of compassion and generosity that these students got to experience. 5th grade classrooms additionally talked about the heroes and helpers during 9/11 and how they will never forget. This week's classrooms did some creative activities around International Dot Day. This day was started in 2009 and creates creative activities and is centered around collaboration and courage, and is based on the book called The Dot, written by Peter Reynolds, who also happens to be a fan favorite author at Sandown North. At Pollard, the new art teacher, Mrs. Thibault, also helped create Dot Day by creating a rainbow of dots, and students really enjoyed this activity and are working to more art projects this year with their new teacher. The students have additionally been enjoying Pollard's new special called Innovation, and students have let Principal Mr. Blay know that the class has inspired them to be scientists. Danville School is off to a great start as well, and their students are settling into new routines, building strong relationships with each other and with the staff. They celebrated a school-wide Patriots Spirit Day last Friday to recognize the start of the NFL season. And the staff and students will be wearing red, white, and blue this Friday in honor of Constitution Day. The students and staff at TLC are also settling into comfortable routines, and they have been practicing safety drills and understanding how to respond to the sound of alarm systems. The high school has been off to a great start as well. School-wide organizations such as Project Hope and Best Buddies have begun their meetings and are hard at work planning events for the school year. The Student Council has just finalized plans for Spirit Week and is working to present ideas to administration in the upcoming week. Additionally, honor societies have begun planning their inductions, electing officers, and holding meetings. Fall sports are up and running and doing incredibly well. This week, the girls' soccer team took a 2-1 win over Dover High School. Field hockey won a game against Manchester West. Golf won a match against 3 other schools. And the football team will be kicking off their first regular season home game against Merrimack Valley tomorrow night at 6:30. Tomorrow's game will also benefit the New Hampshire Food Bank and the football team's Timberlane Tackles Hunger event planned by the boosters. The football team would like to ask the community to support this cause by making monetary donations to the fundraiser upon attendance at the game. Canned goods can unfortunately not be accepted for this fundraiser. In addition, in regards to the dress code petition from last meeting, the petition did die down and I haven't heard anything about it. However, I am looking forward to pulling together a group of students to have some conversations about this topic with administration and hopefully advocate for slight changes to the dress code, but I don't currently see this as a pressing issue. And again, I would just like to thank the school board for the opportunity to speak on student behalf tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is the school reopening update. There were really 2 items under here. There were questions regarding the COVID notification protocols and quarantines for students. This has changed from last year. I didn't know if anybody from the administration wants to just read through this quickly, just so parents can hear this. I can do it, it doesn't matter.
Basically, a couple of things have changed. One is the guidance on quarantining, and as a result of the change in the guidance on quarantining, students or any persons are not necessarily required to quarantine. That is a change from last year. There will be a decrease in the number of letters going out to families when there's a positive case. However, that data will be available on the Timberlane Regional School District data dashboard, and so that will be up to date and provide data and numbers for the prior 14 days. And the link to that dashboard is provided on the district website. We'll also be sending weekly updates on COVID and data on the, I believe it's Friday evenings, so parents will have access to that. And more recently, and this is, Chris, if you would know that right. This is an update from the last board meeting, and I'll just read it so the audience and other folks can hear. So this is based on instructional guidance for responding to COVID in the learning environment from Commissioner Edelwitt. This morning, we received an email from the Commissioner. So last school board meeting, the board requested the administration develop a plan to allow us to pivot to fully remote instruction at school or at schools if needed. Administration has worked on that plan, and we're prepared to discuss it this evening. However, this morning we received communication from the Commissioner of Education confirming that schools must offer in-person education 5 days a week. That's not new information, and that's something that we have been doing. That communication also stated that, quote, schools are permitted to but not required to provide remote instruction when students are not able to be in school due to having contacted COVID-19, being in close social contact with someone with COVID-19, or have other family circumstances that prevent them from participating in in-person instruction. It also states that non-in-person instruction in these circumstances should be on a temporary basis, only until the circumstances are resolved. For example, a student who is COVID positive recovers and then comes back to school. If remote instruction is provided, and it is optional, the guidance neither specifies nor restricts the remote instruction modality involved. Therefore, we'll begin conversations about whether and what types of remote instruction might be offered for students who are not in school. So, in terms of the reopening plan itself, we're continuing the same path. We are looking at spacing within schools, making sure that we're following our protocols, and as well, we're looking at whether or not we would go fully remote if it were required and under what circumstances.
Questions on that? So, in summary, the direction from the Department of Education is that schools will remain open, that there will not be any means, given community transmission, for the district or schools to move to a remote instruction. Go ahead, Sean.
What I would have a concern about is that if a student is being forced to be home because they tested positive, is that they do not miss a beat in their education. I would like to see some kind of in-classroom presentation to the student via remote up until they've recovered and they meet the time, and then yes, I would assume, not even assume, I would expect them to come back into the classroom. What I do not want to see is busy work that's just thrown to the student to keep them busy for the 2 weeks, and then they come back and they're, in all essence, 2 weeks behind. So I'd like to see what kind of a plan that you have to increase their education during that time.
So you're asking that classroom teachers instruct both in person and remotely at the same time is what you're asking? You want a plan for that?
Correct.
Brian? Yeah, can you turn up Brian's mic? So schools are permitted but not required to provide remote instruction. That is correct.
Okay, so I believe the board asked the superintendent at the last meeting to look into the possibility of doing this. Isn't that what we talked about?
Well, we did, because the question at the last meeting was, what if you had a high enough rate where you had to move to remote instruction?
Right.
The answer is, there is no rate that is going to be high enough to move the school to remote instruction per the state. That is different than last year. There is no means for the district or the school to move to solely remote instruction. Dr. Cochran or Mr. Kellen, is that correct?
That is the position of the New Hampshire Department of Education.
So regardless of how high our transmission is, how many students are out, how many teachers are out, the schools will stay open.
They will stay open, but you can also, you are not prevented from providing remote.
You are then asking teachers
I'm not
to
asking
teach.
teachers.
No, you will then be, teachers will then have to do both. You will be face-to-face with students and you'll be having to teach remotely at the same time.
Kim, I am not asking anything. What I'm reading is if something has to be done, and if additional staff is required, I guess that's what they're gonna have to do.
And
That's all I'm saying. I mean,
I don't
the way
disagree with
the way
you.
I'm reading this, it's just, it's not, I'm not happy, very really in my head with what comes on the state anyway, but there is a way to do it. Obviously, it involves more staffing. Does that sound right? If we had to go remote, you would have to get more staffing. Does that sound right?
I think that's a critical issue, and quite honestly, while it isn't listed in the email, he hasn't posited the notion that staffing will be an issue. And I suspect that as in last year, that may become an issue that might force schools to move a school to fully remote. We were very close multiple times last year, and people stepped up time and again. But as we've seen, the rate of transmissibility of the Delta virus is higher. We're seeing what appears to be more community spread. We're still not seeing in-school spread, although we've had cases that potentially are, but not confirmed at this point. The difficulty becomes trying to find a way that will allow students who are out for a short period of time to either keep pace or not fall behind as far. It's very difficult. The room Zoom model, I think, worked relatively well in a hybrid last year. Feedback from teachers and administrators at the secondary level has been somewhat mixed, and I know that there will probably be concerns among both of those groups if we end up in a room Zoom model. The guidance itself doesn't specify any model, just that it has to be provided if it's asked for. So we will start conversations tomorrow about what the models would look like as part of that work, because as much as the commissioner says, you'll never close a school, it could happen. So one of the difficulties that we have is that at our elementary schools, each classroom has a bank of Chromebooks, and they're set in a charger and a cart. And I think there's about 30 in a cart. So if we have to go, for example, with a storm day and try to move to remote learning, then we would have to take all of those Chromebooks out of the carts at each elementary school, each room, put them in a bag, put an adapter in with this so it can charge. And that takes about 45 minutes per classroom. We would not be able to turn around in one day. So one of the things that we will be requesting is an expenditure and a budget transfer of $70,000 to allow us to purchase the adapters, so that we would be able to very quickly put the packages together for the elementary schools if and when we were required to go remote at an elementary level. So that is one of the things for the agenda tonight.
Okay, Katie, then Amy.
Yeah, so do you all, forgetting COVID for a second, but looking at illness in general, does the school have a policy that after so many absentees that you guys shut down for a couple days? So down south from where I'm from, flu season was really big. If the absentees in the whole school district hit a certain number, the school would actually shut down for a couple days.
Do we have that in books? Is there a policy where if a certain percentage of the population is out for so many days, the school shuts down? Does anybody know that? I don't know. Do we have that
Typically,
policy?
the state would notify us that we've exceeded a percentage and that we have to consider that.
So does the state, do they print out numbers to where you get a report before that happens?
It's typically that the school nurse, when reporting attendance to the state, and the school nurse would be contacted by the Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, thank you.
Amy?
My question surrounds thinking about hybrid or remote. Just to be clear, Dr. Cochran, would that be defined as a change in work environment?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Would transitioning to hybrid or remote be defined as a change in work environment for teachers?
It could be considered that, yes.
Okay.
I think there are varying legal opinions on it, but I believe that in the past, many districts have deemed it that, and as a result, it becomes an issue of discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
Sean?
Cochran, with that comment, are you anticipating any kind of resistance against the staff?
I'm sorry, if we're going to start talking about contracts or particular staffing, that should be done in non-public.
I just did ask it in an opinion.
We can certainly move into a non-public session and have that discussion.
Well, maybe we should then.
We will later on. Any other questions on this topic?
I did want to point out, if I could, that there has been a change, as was mentioned earlier, to the quarantining, and quarantining will not be done on the basis of close contact in schools, only in the context of the family environment. So that will reduce quarantining and hopefully students out of school. But it will mean that students who have tested, fully vaccinated, no exclusion, test 3 to 5 days after an exposure and so on. So the timelines and some of the procedures have been changed somewhat.
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, board members, also in your packet, you have an executive summary on accommodations. After our last meeting, I did request that administration speak with the council about accommodations, especially as it regards to public meetings. And this is the summary that says that if a person has a disability, the district has to provide reasonable accommodations to allow participation in school district events. So did you have a question on that?
No, not on that, but I did have a question on accommodations for the children, the students. So we heard tonight that there's no wiggle room in the accommodations for students, and I've heard other times that people with doctor's notes were not given accommodations. I was just wondering if there's any statement on why that is.
So consideration of accommodations is done on an individual basis for students through Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, or for students who are identified as in need of special education under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So it's an individual process. So whether or not it was agreed to or consensus of a team, because the team includes parents, multidisciplinary team, that the information supported a student not wearing a mask or not. So you'd have to look at each individual case as to why those decisions were made. Yes.
Sean?
Can we talk about why accommodations weren't even considered last year? I mean, the law hasn't changed in a year.
It hasn't changed in decades.
That's true. So why was there no accommodations last year in the Timberlane Regional School District for anybody, period? Not even a review process. We didn't even get to that luxury.
Sean, who would you like to answer? I don't think Mr. Cullen was here last year.
No, it's a general question to the board and the superintendent. You're the chairman, I mean.
I'm not involved in the day-to-day operation of determining
But you set a
who has
policy that will
accommodations.
dictate what that daily operation is. The decisions made by this board is forcing everybody to go through this process.
Okay.
Correct?
Dr. Cochran?
No, it's not a decision of the board to go through the process for students, what you're talking about?
My comment is relative to these masks. If we didn't have this mask policy, you wouldn't be getting all these requests. We had the same equivalent mask policy last year, and we didn't have any accommodations. We had 0 requests for it to come in because they weren't being granted, period.
But we also had hybrid and remote as an option. So
And that has nothing to do with the price of eggs either. I mean,
a child that
have to
was
do
in
with
school could still access their education last year.
I disagree.
Any other questions on this topic?
And if I could just make a quick comment, in general, Mr. O'Neill, it really wasn't considered, and I think in part it's because parents did have the ability to choose to be fully enrolled, say, if they wanted to. I also think that we're looking at a different situation this year with the difference in the transmissibility. Right now, all 4 of the towns and the county are all in the red, like somewhere around 3 times the level that puts us into red. So I think there's some difference in that regard as well.
Moving on to the facilities update. We have an update with regards to facilities. Are there any questions on this? Also in your board packet, as we discussed last time, we are looking to add a building and grounds supervisor that reports to the plant operations director. This is a full-time position, and so we're looking to move to approve this position. You have the job description in your packets. Go ahead, Barbara.
The facilities, we talked last time about doing the, doing HVAC metrics, measurements in the classrooms ourselves to compare with the baseline we took last year. Did we have any resolution to that?
We can discuss that in a non-public session.
Okay.
Any other questions? So I'm looking for a motion to add the position of building and grounds supervisor. Brian makes a motion. Is there a second? Kristen seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is an athletic department Hall of Fame ceremony, fall of 2022. You have an executive summary on this. The athletic department is looking for funds, district funding in the amount of $10,000 to support the 2022 Hall of Fame induction ceremony, with a plan to partially reimburse the district with the event ticket sales. Is there any discussion on this? Barbara? Well, I don't, Mr. Fantasia, did you want to come and speak to this? The question is, how much was reimbursed the last time this was done? Oh, I guess you can use that mic, or this mic. I guess that they moved one mic up here because there's feedback down there. Either one is fine.
So, I think your question, could you just repeat the question?
Yes, how much will be reimbursed the last time we had this event?
The last time we had this event, I want to say it was just under $5,000.
So just so the people understand what we're talking about, you're asking for $10,000 for basically a party, and you'll give us $5,000 back?
So I'm asking for the Hall of Fame was proposed for over 20 years, and in 2017, this community was asking for many years, so we were very proud to bring that, and we inducted candidates and nominees who were inducted in 2017, sorry for feedback, and also 2019. We were supposed to be doing it this time, but due to COVID, we had to push everything off and do so the fall of 2022. And I think it's more than a party. I think this community is amazing. I think this community has a family atmosphere. And I think the fact that when we're bringing people back after years and years with their families, and everybody's coming back to Illinois, not just from Massachusetts, but from all over the country.
It's a special event. It's more than a party, but I understand. But this community, I've gotten nothing but great feedback and thanks over the years. And I'm just really proud to be a part of it, so I'm hoping to keep doing it. Thank you.
And how many people attend?
Well, again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we had probably close to 150 people that came back. We recognized teams. We actually brought them back, and I feel kind of bad saying this because it was supposed to be probably within the next couple of weeks, and we actually brought them back to the football games at halftime and actually recognized them there as well. People were staying here. Having it on Thursday is great because they come into town, they get recognized, they come back on Friday and they stay the weekend. It's just a beautiful time. And so hopefully we can make that happen again. I think now more than ever, this community really needs that to keep going. Thank you.
Brian?
Julia, yeah, I understand your comment about it's not a party, it's ceremony, whatever. I think also what Barbara, which I agree with what she's asking, but I guess we're trying to get, at least I am, a real feel for what, it's one thing for the school board to recommend to front the money, but what do you really think is going to happen in terms of what our expectation is, what you would think we would get back? How much of the $10,000 we're really asking to support? Is it 3,000? What is it really?
Again, not knowing how many we're going to induct, not knowing, you all know, not knowing all of the facts. I know that what we did before was almost $5,000, so it was almost half of it. I don't anticipate, and again, I can't really tell you definitively, but I don't really anticipate it being much different than that. But again, we inducted the very first ever championship team, the baseball team, and they all showed up, so it depends on who gets in, it depends on how many, but it's a pretty good, accurate, I think, guesstimate that we would at least have half at least. It's not, like I tell people, it's not a fundraiser, and Brian, it's not this isn't a fundraiser, it's not like I'm trying to raise money, we're not, making any money goes right back to the district.
Okay, and yeah, I think it's a good thing. But do you happen to know if there's other programs like that? Meaning, like, does the music department do that? Does any of the academic departments do anything like? Do you know any chance?
I'm not aware of that stuff. I'm not aware.
Okay. Why isn't this funded through the athletic department's budget?
I can, again, this would be for next year. I am not putting anything in the budget without the blessing and the approval of the superintendent and the school board. I mean, if you're telling me I can budget for it, I will budget for it. But I don't want to do anything that I am not supposed to.
Well, the budget committee is responsible for the budget.
Okay, well,
So I'm not going to say one way or another, but certainly if this is something that occurs on an annual event, and it's something that you want money for, then I think I would budget for it.
okay. And just so that you know, it's every other, we try to do it every other year. We would have done it this year, so it's going to be 3, but it's under normal circumstances, it would be every other year. So that's fine. I'm taking my cues from.
So I just have a quick question about that, and I'm going back to town budgeting. Is there a way to do some sort of a revolving fund situation where he has a fund it's in there every year, so when he receives the money, it goes, so we put a certain amount into that, and then when he raises, it goes in, so it's there perpetually, and then we budget the difference, like you're saying?
I think you'd have to ask the CFO. I don't know how it works at the district.
I don't know how that works at a district level, so I know Marie's busy over there. Are we able to do revolving funds at the school level, like they do at the town, where where something where Angela had a certain account set up for it, and then whatever he raised, from the ticket sales would go into it, so it would just kind of be there for him every year, so we basically give him a starter fund, to start this, and then as he makes money, it goes into that account for future years. Is that a possibility or not? I mean, I'm just trying to think of something creative for, where is it, just to kind of keep it so it's its own separate entity. But I mean, going with Brian said, I mean, again, more of a ceremony and whatnot, but I think it is nice to be able to bring people back and recognize them. We can, but also with athletics, I'm not so sure so much with academics, but we do see it with academics. I shouldn't say that because we have plenty of people that will come back and volunteer for STEM nights and things like that too. But a lot of our athletics is asking people to come in and volunteer their time, and many of these are alumni and whatnot. So it's nice to have a night every couple of years that kind of acknowledges that, because these people do come back, a lot of them volunteer. They're not getting coaching stipends, they're helping out and just being on the sidelines and trying to help our kids, whether it be during the season or an off season and things like that. So I think it's a short short figure when you're looking at it in every other year thing, so.
Do we have any other revenue, like from football games, you know, that, do you have any, who controls that? Do you control that?
No, the ticket sale, for example, any gate receipts goes back to the district, that goes right back. We don't have that. That goes back.
So Maria's saying it could be a budget transfer from the ticket sales to this. What's your approximate budget excluding personnel for athletics?
Operating wise?
Yes.
I'm guessing right now, I don't have it in front of me, but it's probably about 300,000, 335, I don't know, something in that nature.
Okay. So, are there any other questions? Are we looking to make a motion to authorize this? The use of district funds? I mean, I'm still unsure as to why this couldn't come out of your operating budget.
I'm not saying it can't, I just don't know the process, or I just want permission to use, I don't want to use the wrong thing, and I don't want to take liberties and say I'm using something.
Okay, so this is scheduled for the fall of 2022, right?
2022, correct.
Okay, we need to do a little more research on this.
Yeah, I think we're supportive, but yeah, that's good.
I'm just not understanding why this couldn't just come out of that
I agree.
budget. So if we can defer and get Maria to give us some more information on this. Brian?
I hate to do this, Angela, but what we have here. Mr. Sager's request earlier this evening, is that something we could accommodate?
We have a number of requests, and I'm not, and Jack and I talk a lot, we have a number of requests right now that I'm supposed to be meeting with, the SAU and making sure that we are making decisions on a case-by-case basis. I take my cues from above right now, because this is a little bit over my head.
Okay, it's just that myself as a board member, I think is on a Sunday morning, knowing that, I mean, it was nice of him to ask, but on a Sunday morning, I've been by this several times, you could see 2 or 3 games going on that doesn't matter. So it's, no one's interfering with anything, so I don't know why we would be opposed to something like that.
I'm not opposed to it, I'm just telling you that I know that there's a bunch of requests coming in, and the way I understand it is it's going to be a case-by-case basis. I'm not opposed to anything, but, yeah.
I hope that.
So my understanding is that if there's a request to use the facilities, there's a facilities request form that goes to request use of the facilities. So and if they're available or they can do that, they do that, right? Correct? So I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this question, but Mr. Sager is still here. Mr. Fantasia's here.
The form is out there.
Okay.
We took the form and brought it.
Okay.
We're not granting access requests because of COVID at all. Is there so in Mr. Sapia's request, he said they're not going to use indoor facilities. Is it okay if we
I don't think that's Mr. Fantasia's purview, right? I mean, I don't know who's responsible here.
Again, I'm just waiting to get, like I said, I have a number of people filling out forms, and I'm, bringing them forward to see, yay or nay, what are we doing? I certainly don't feel as that I should, I can't make those decisions unilaterally right now. And again, I'm not opposed to anything, I just.
So the process was developed in SLT that people would fill in an application and it would be reviewed and looked at. We really haven't received, the topic of conversation was really around community groups that serve our towns, and to what extent could we safely allow usage. The primary conversations were around youth basketball, other sorts of events like that. I think there's a lot more flexibility if things are completely outside, because then you are in a situation where you're not having to worry about cleaning surfaces and that sort of thing. But the agreement was that we would deal with these on a case-by-case basis, with a priority for internal users and trying to maintain opportunities for our students and our community as much as possible without increasing exposure and risking losing those opportunities because of spread.
I agree, and that completely makes sense with you're talking indoor facilities, with other issues that we're crossing as well. But with outdoor facilities, I mean, if we don't have somebody from our district using that field at that time, if it is available, I mean, my position, I'm not speaking for the entire board, would be, but why not? Because we have a situation where, granted, this team may not be from this area, but they are a situation where we might turn around one day and not have a field. And we might have to pick up the phone and call SNU or St. A's or somebody else and say, we're stuck. We lost our field, can we come use yours? So there's reciprocity there all over the place. Not only that, we are trying to encourage people to be outside and do things and whatnot. And, you know, if there's a couple of good baseball games going on and people want to go and sit and watch them on a Sunday afternoon, and we can provide that, why not? We don't need to provide any services beyond that, and especially if it's, you know, revenue generating, again, why not? So, I mean, I know it has to be looked at, but I would be in favor of, if it wasn't being used and there's no reason not to allow them, why not?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fantasia. We'll come back to this topic again next time when we have more information.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda, at the last board meeting, there was a discussion about turf fields. I have spoken with the superintendent, and Kristen was involved. We talked about, board members in your packet, there's an invitation to several people to join a newly formed ad hoc athletic facilities committee. This would be looking at all the outdoor facilities. To be prudent, if you're going to start looking at one track, or one area, you really should look at the whole grounds. So, Brian, did you have something?
Yeah, just the mandate, as we discussed with the board, is to look at the grounds and field situations in a broad context, including the track, potentially resulting in a recommendation for a multi-year plan related to field maintenance and development, possibly including a turf field. So a fairly broad mandate, fairly broad look, and therefore a pretty diverse set of people to be involved. Glad to have Mr. Inglesby here to guide us through this because he has significant experience. I've been involved in some turf work in the past and in that area, but we are in the process of scheduling the first meeting of the group.
We were just talking about, part of it also is to be looking at which of our teams and groups and organizations have to go off of our campus to get training because they can't do it here because we don't have the proper facilities. So many of our spring teams, whether it be softball, baseball, lacrosse, whatnot, they can't train here because the only place to train is the parking lot. It's the only place, if there's snow or the fields are wet or we can't get on the fields. So the key is what does that cost and what are the liabilities for transferring those kids to different areas and whatnot, and to just all be looked at all encompassing as to cost-benefit analysis as well, to doing anything on our campus.
I know what coaching soccer is like in the spring in Nova Scotia, and let's just say parking lots often end up being the field of choice when the fields are wet and unplayable. You go through an awful lot of soccer balls that way. So I am familiar with it, and I'm in agreement with the point.
Brian?
I always encourage another committee, if you will, looking at another task, such as the outdoors and facilities. But I believe that some of us attended a facilities tour last week. I've been on this a few times since I've been on the board. And when you start talking about athletics, I think, Kristen, you found out that the Timberlane locker room looked an awful lot like when you were a high school student. So that was, I think that was about 3 or 4 years ago. So,
It's gross.
So, for the board members that are unable to attend, it's not a surprise to me. There's an awful lot of work that's going to be done in these facilities, and you know, I would hope that this group you're talking will come to some kind of report. But I look at replacement of windows, locker rooms, this kind of stuff, even before field teams. Some of this stuff is just incredibly overdue, so.
I completely agree with you, Brian. The other thing is just having the information for if grants are become available for either way. You know, just never know. Just be prepared and ready to go because we can't afford to do it all.
Yeah.
But if we can, you know, if we can be prepared and a grant or something's available and we have the information, then we're at least ready to go.
It was part of our discussion. I'm going to change the subject a little bit because one of the topics that came out this week was actually vandalism of school facilities, specifically students ripping soap dispensers in washrooms, causing us to have to spend money and time and effort that could have been done on other things to replace those. Carl, do you want to speak to that if you wouldn't mind? I just think it would be helpful if the community found out that in this time, at this point in time, we're having, you know, to spend money that we shouldn't have to, replacing working materials and I know the high school has reached out to parents a little bit about this.
There's been an issue with soap dispensers and things being taken, yeah, rings a bell, I guess.
Yes, it is. Monday, we had every single soap dispenser, boys and girls' bathroom stolen. They'd steal the soap and the dispenser off the walls. Apparently, there's a new TikTok challenge called Devious Lick, and these kids are participating. I take that back. It might not just be kids. I don't know if the teachers are getting in there too. I really don't know. We haven't caught anybody. So,
just for the record, I haven't been in either building this week.
So just the cost of this is not really, it's not the cost of the dispensers because the dispensers are being given to us for free. I've reached out to our vendor and he says we'll keep providing them for free. However, the soap is very expensive because we have 1,000 washes in these soap dispensers. So it's going to start racking up sooner or later. I don't understand the thought behind stealing something to wash your hands in the middle of a pandemic, but hey, I'm just the facilities director. So we are replacing them as they get stolen. You can't not provide soap at this time, as you can imagine, so we're doing what we can.
Thank you. All right, moving on, I'm going to leave the staffing update for later because that is going to require a non-public discussion. Moving on to the administrator's report, Dr. Cochran, did you have anything?
I do not believe the budget transfer request related to the, but I think we've addressed that.
I think I have your folder here. This is, so
we have signature, that piece is done, the budget transfer request. And the other piece was the blizzard bags and the need for the adapters and the 70,000. So I think the total request for budget transfer change is $75,715. So that's the specific budget transfer request per B.A. Watkins. And the purpose of that is the Chromebook adapters and bags so that we can turn the elementary schools around if needed. So if we want to make that an action item.
I'm going to need to have the, so what we're looking to do, and I don't even know if I'm in full agreement with this at this point because I'm still a little unclear as to when and if this could happen, is business administration and for new board members, if there's transfer between budget lines that's over $25,000, the board needs to approve it. So what's being requested is to move $50,715 from the information access line to technology supplies to purchase Chromebook covers and adapters, and then another move from the info access fee, technology supplies, for another $25,000 to purchase the Chromebook covers and the adapters. So that would be a total of $75,715 to be transferred from information access fees to technology supplies. So this isn't something that was budgeted for, but what this allows is for, say we know that we may be going to a blizzard bag on a Thursday, they should be able to, the elementary school kids should be able to take their Chromebooks, have a charger, and have a bag, put it in so that they can take it home with them the next day. Right now, they don't have that capability. My understanding is it would take a few days for tech people to like disassemble the carts and try to put all that together. So that's what the board is looking to move those funds. Questions on that? I mean, we can bring, go ahead, Sean.
I have two questions. One is, I worry about, is this program really going to be happening such that we, authorizing, the purchase of this, and moving the funds around and getting the equipment in-house, and then you don't implement the program, it's pretty futile. So I would want to say is that if we're going to go down this road, that program is intact. And then the second part of my question is, have we already checked with the availability of these Chromebooks with a lot of purchasing issues and delays and stuff? We could authorize this and we might not see them until springtime.
It's actually not Chromebooks, we do have the Chromebooks, but they're stored in the cart, and so what we're looking at is adapters for each of the elementary Chromebooks and a bag to put them home, put them in so students can take them home. It is the total cost of $75,715, and it is possible that we could purchase it and not use it. It's also possible that we could need them and not be able to use remote because of the state. If the state guidance basically says you cannot use it for remote. At this point in time, the permission, the summary that was in your board packet basically says these are the kind of conditions under which the DOE is approving remote instruction. Short period of time, small number of people. They are not approving fully remote instruction unless it's a fully remote program that parents opted into.
It would increase our capacity, though, and enhance the one-to-one initiative and create more opportunities for some of those online learning tools that are available to students at all grade levels. So by increasing the one-to-one initiative for the elementary age students, it does enhance those, the opportunity for those students to access some of the online learning resources that we have. When you asked about if we're not going to institute that program, I'm assuming you're talking about what was traditionally known as blizzard bags, which is, they struck the word blizzard bag out of the educational standard ED 306.18 A7, and it just speaks to remote instruction, which, notwithstanding the conflict that the commissioner's statements at the previous NHSAA meeting, as well as today's email that we received, we're going to be talking about that with the South Central group tomorrow. However, having the ability to be able to purchase those adapters is the key, because taking apart those Chromebook carts, as Dr. Cochran talked about, each adapter for each Chromebook is, I don't know exactly how, but woven through those carts, and that's what takes all the time, is to take the cart apart completely. So the purchase of the adapters, of course, is to be able to have the Chromebooks go home with students and use them, whether it be for what was once known as a blizzard bag day, but also we would capitalize on the opportunity of having these things to increase the opportunity for those students, actually for, learning loss, where some of the online programs and resources that are available to students would now be accessible to those students that don't currently have devices at home, You know, one of the things we've learned over the last couple of years, we thought everybody has a computer at home. Well, everybody doesn't have a computer at home anymore. This is the computer for a lot of people, and it's really hard to do an assignment on this. You know, although I bet our students are better at it than most of us would be, or at least me. So there are other benefits that we're looking at as being, you know, that would support this kind of a purchase. And to your point about, are we going to even be able to get these things? That's why we're looking at this now. It's really to make these purchases now in the hopes that we beat any other of the delivery shortfalls that we've seen. So that's why we're looking at it now.
And
Not all of it, no. Some of it might be, but we're worried about falling into a trap there, you know, as far as the approval goes from the state. We think so, given the language that was in the federal piece, but the other side is now we have a commissioner in the state Department of Ed who was saying that they're not supporting remote instruction.
I think we should table this until you have further clarification from your, yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm just trying to understand is, one, do we know how many covers and adapters we're talking about here? And
For how many?
Hi, I just want to clarify a few things. Thank you, Mr. Kellen, for clarifying that this is also to support our elementary students in moving toward a one-to-one initiative. To speak to federal funding, the reason we have access to funds in what was the info access lines out of the curriculum budget is because we're looking to leverage some of the ESSER funding, federal funding, to bring in a new assessment platform that has personalized instruction, that is a digital platform, which allowed us to eliminate some of the other programs that we were using. So it freed up some funds that we were looking to transfer to purchase these adapters and bags for all elementary students at all grade levels, all schools, so that they can have a one-to-one device that they can bring home every night on a regular basis. Again, whether it be for an intermittent pause and transition to remote instruction, whether that be due to inclement weather, or whether that be to complete their nightly assignments and access some of the supports and instructional resources that we have that are online every night. They don't have that ability right now unless they have their own device at home. So that is how it all factors into grant funding as well. So we are leveraging some grant funds, not for these, but for other programs that freed up the funding to transfer. So that's how that all falls together.
So we're pulling the funds from?
I'm sorry?
So it looks like we're pulling the funds from two different school info access?
One is an elementary line and one is a secondary line. So they are being pulled from both of those because programs that were used at both elementary and secondary were budgeted differently based on enrollment numbers. So that's why that's there. Yep.
so my follow-up question, because I think part of what I'm hearing, the concern is if we do this and we get all of these covers and these adapters, and we don't necessarily need them to the extent we're talking about the elementary, is this something that they can be used for future years?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm sort of arguing, is that they will be used
So
on a
it's
regular
not-
basis,
we're not
independent of remote learning as we know it,
Yeah.
in the pivot to remote format. This is to support instruction at home as we transition to more digital resources for all students across all grade levels.
But if we find we're not needing as many for that purpose and we don't switch to remote, we can use the overflow
Yes.
in the middle and high school for,
Yep.
and that's when we can repurpose them for, so it's not a situation where we're gonna have boxes of
Yes.
adapters and covers sitting around that we haven't used.
That's right, yep.
It does have the ability to increase the use of technology for learning and being taken back and forth between the home, especially at the upper elementary levels. So there's that on top of the other benefit as well. The other thing is, because the purchases are above the $25,000 level, we would have to do an RFP, which would mean that it pushes the purchase date out a little bit, which is why we brought it forward this quickly.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion.
I would like to motion that those budget transfers and the amounts and accounts specified in the CFO VA's budget transfer request dated September 16th, 2021 be accepted.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Kristen seconds. Any further discussion? Sean?
I do, relative to the comment made about an RFP, you can generate an RFP, you can send it out now, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to place the PO. So that could happen regardless of what happens here tonight.
Okay, so we're going to vote on that motion for the fund transfers. All in favor? 7-0. Okay. Anything else, Dr. Cochran, on administrator's report, personnel report?
I think we have a personnel related in non-public.
Okay. Committee reports. Barbara, do you have anything?
Oh, yeah, and Amy, you're on curriculum, right?
Amy?
We reviewed some curriculum that is being reworked, but there's nothing to bring to the board at this time.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
CIP group met finally after a long time. Very productive meeting. Looks like Carl did a pretty good job of telling us what a lot of these things that are in your packet for facilities update. It's what we are trying to do in year one. So I think that we'll be able to probably give you some better numbers probably at the next meeting to the board. But it was nice to get the facilities committee back after about 15 months. So.
Sean? Anything?
I have a question in regards to the CIP. Is that's officially been moved now to Wednesday? I mean, from Wednesday to Tuesday?
I was not able to attend the last meeting, so I don't know when the next date is. Brian, do you know?
Yeah, I don't know if, Carl, do you have Carl, Maria, do you have on one of your laptops right there when we agreed to have our next CIP meeting?
Because that was one of the issues that the representative from Danville couldn't do on Wednesdays because it was moved.
Right.
And then now it's moved back from Wednesday to Tuesday, is that I want to approach him and see if he would still be interested in doing it.
I don't know. Did you set a date for the next meeting? Okay. Well, when we set up the date, can we do it on a Tuesday, not on a Wednesday, please? On a Tuesday, yeah. Okay. Well, we'll set, moving forward, we can set them on a Tuesday. Mr. Henderson's in charge of that committee now, so we'll just, he probably was unaware. We haven't met in so long.
Okay.
Kristen?
Safety's meeting on the 28th.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, so I'm going to request that we move into a non-public session under 91A:3, paragraph 2, section C, and also L. Could I have somebody make that motion?
So moved.
Kristen makes a motion. Is there a second? Brian seconds. Kat, could you take a roll call, please?
Mr. Boyle? Yes. Dr. Farah?
Yes.
Ms. Gentile?
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka? Yes. Mrs. Knudsen? Yes. Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mrs. Savage?
Yes.
Okay, I do not anticipate that we will have any public action after we come out of that meeting. Dr. Cochran, do you anticipate that? No? So this will probably conclude the televised portion of the meeting. We will come back out in public, but we will not come out on stage. Thank you for everybody who's attending.